Live guys, welcome to another live stream from the Men of High Value channel. My name is Joseph Darling. Today you're about to hear the most important video that I've put out on my channel at least this year. Maybe even on my channel ever. We'll see how it turns out. What is the biggest problem in society today? And I'm talking today. What's the most urgent thing ever that is happening today in terms of the problem in society? And I'll tell it to you straight between the eyes, and then we can talk about it and find solutions to it. And hopefully, if you are a man of truth, a man of high value, you will participate with me in solving this problem. And even if we cannot solve it in our lifetime, we will overcome, we will solve this problem one way or another. The biggest problem in society today is big government. Big government is our biggest challenge. The biggest challenge that we could ever imagine. Okay? It's a huge obstacle towards the three pillars of the Men of High Value movement, which are as follows: truth, freedom, and family. And let's go through why it is such a big problem. What's the big deal, Joe? Well, let's take truth, for example. Truth is that which works in the long run and in the big scheme of things. Government has always created big problems for the people. At times, good government, limited government, good leaders that have stood up for truth, that have stood up to protect their citizens, etc., have played a very important role in retaining freedom for its citizens. However, this cannot be the case today. In today's world, we are living at the mercy of a government that can do whatever they want to us at any given time. That's a problem, because it is not according to truth. The principle of truth, that is one of the biggest principles of truth, is freedom. Freedom versus force. Those two, truth and freedom, are probably so interconnected that you cannot believe. What is freedom? And let's understand why freedom is so crucial to have in one's life, but also to make sure that everyone else have as well. My body, my choice. I own it. If I'm not able to control my body and what I do with my body and what goes into my body, as long as I don't harm other people by choice, I should be left alone. And so should you, in every way, shape, or form. I should not be allowed to ban something or vote for something that bans other people from doing something or from having to do something that they do not want to do. If I do that, I am literally forcing. I'm using force. In other words, violence against other people with my vote. Can you believe that? Freedom is an eternal principle that we have to appreciate. I was having a great conversation with one of my clients the other day, and we spoke about how it's very wise that we do not try to ban something. Obviously, we're not talking about when you willfully, physically harm other people or threaten to harm them. That's a different story. I'm talking now about good people having to do something or being forced not to do something against their will, when they have not done anything to anyone in terms of threatening violence or actually executing violence on someone else. And we were discussing how it is not wise for you to ban anything or force someone to do something they do not want to do, no matter what it is. Because that means that anyone else, can ban something that you like to do, or something that you don't, or tell you that you have to do something that you don't want to do by law. Okay, so you're saying that let's vote laws into existence according to my subjective thought process of what is right and what is wrong, and I want everyone in the world to do this by law. And if they don't do it, they're lawless citizens. You know that everyone else can do the exact same thing to you. My wife was reading up some satirical reality something post on Instagram about how they were just making fun, but basically saying that, you know, what would actually make the world a better place is if all men were forced to have sexual relations with other men. Then the world would become so much better. Obviously, it's ridiculous, right? But it was satirical. But in general, imagine if you were forced to do that, and if not, you are a lawless person. You know that the way things are going today, that could be put into law. Yeah, but then I'd fight against it, and there would be violence in the streets. Yeah, exactly. Good. Okay, because laws like this create problems. Not just that law, but other laws. Or whatever it is that government or the large population in general comes up with and votes into power and votes into effect. This is why freedom is so crucial, that we allow others to do whatever they want to do as long as they don't inflict harm on others. Okay? And that they do not purposefully do something to others or others' property that they know they're doing. Right? Do you guys understand the process of what I'm trying to say? The vast majority of people are good people, but there's a lot of people that are misinformed when it comes to the principle of freedom. Let me show you guys one post on my Instagram that I really love this, okay? And I put it out for a reason. It is this one. Anti-freedom is pro-hypocrisy. Why is that? Well, some people, no one will ever say that they're against freedom because they want their own freedom, right? But they want to restrict others from doing the things that they want to do. How is that freedom? How can you force others to do what you want them to do when they don't want to do it? That means you're a hypocrite if you believe that. If you believe that you can put into law things that don't work, okay? In the long run, in the big scheme of things, they might just not work, okay? We're all together moving towards truth, that which works in the long run in the big scheme of things. And very often, we haven't figured out what the truth is. So we can't really put it into law. Instead, we just need to allow society to do whatever they want to do, and then let's figure out over time if that works or if it doesn't work. But guess what? If we together as a people figure out that something does not work, that will become common knowledge. We won't need to ban it because people will be living according to it no matter what, if they're educated on the subject. Some people will have to be led a bit more than others, but never forced, because that is an absolutely horrible principle to live by. It's not even a principle. Okay, there's a reason why freedom is one of the pillars of the Men of High Value movement. 100%. Okay. Actually, there's a book called The Proper Role of Government. It's actually more like a pamphlet. It's like 20 pages or something like that. You should read it. It's absolutely amazing. It was written by a guy named Ezra Benson, who was a minister of agriculture in the 60s in America. Amazing. Okay, like it revolutionized my mind about what it means when you understand the proper role of government. He quotes Thomas Paine at the end of this document. This is amazing. Thomas Paine said, "Tyranny, like hell, is not easily conquered." Is there tyranny going on today? 100%. Yet we have this consolation with us, that the harder the conflict, the more glorious the triumph. What we obtain too cheap, we esteem too lightly. 'Tis dearness only that gives everything its value. Heaven knows how to put a proper price upon its goods, and it would be strange indeed if so celestial an article as freedom should not be highly rated or valued. Freedom is one of the most powerful principles that we will eventually arrive at. Currently, right now, it's not being practiced very well because of big government. And it's a very, very big problem. Okay, having said that, let's go back to understanding a little bit more about what government does. That is a problem. Well, one thing, well, actually, there's two things. Two simple things. If government didn't do this, okay, government would actually not be that bad. One of them is creating new laws. I don't want any more laws. There should be few and far between laws. We're talking maybe one A4 document, okay? One page, A4, with maybe 10 or 15 rules that are eternal, that make sense, okay? We could start with the 10 Commandments, although this is not a religious channel, but in general, it's pretty good, okay? It summarizes things pretty neatly. But, some things on that one is not necessarily necessary either. We could even make it shorter, okay? But in general, let's keep it simple, guys. One document, everyone knows what the rules are. And it's impossible almost to become lawless because the vast majority of people would never do those things in that document. Ever. Okay? Because it's so far out of their minds to even think those thoughts for the vast majority of people. So creating laws, is that something the government does? And then mandating it and saying that you will be fined or you will be put in prison if you do not obey by these laws. They do that a lot, okay? And it's unnecessary. It's not a good practice to make the population lawless. Eventually, at some point, even the best citizens of that country will become lawless. They have to become lawless if they are to be men and women of truth. The day might come that you as a man of truth have to stand up for truth by becoming lawless against the government. Okay? I'm not saying that you should do that. May heaven help us, okay, to understand the distinction between what is right and what is wrong. But it's a very bad position and a very bad time when being lawless is actually according to a heavenly design, because honesty always is the best policy. But if big government is screwing us over and killing us, then we better find some solution to that problem. In the first place, though, creating massive amounts of laws will eventually make the vast majority of the population lawless. And if they're not lawless, they're basically submissive weaklings that are participating and building up this big government until everyone becomes lawless. So it's a big problem. Okay, that's the one thing. Number two, that government has been doing since the dawn of time. In the beginning, they do it very light and carefully so as to not cause a massive revolution. And when there was massive poverty, there was massive revolution when the government did this. Or kings. Or whoever was ruling the countries, whichever country at that time. And that is called taxes. Do you understand that back in the day, people would cause revolutions, and literally walk up to the castle and hang the king if they put out 20% taxes. One tax, 20% tax. The people got furious and would bring their pitchforks and flames and destroy everything in terms of the government. Okay? Am I saying we should do that? Not at all. It's not a very wise strategy. But I'm saying that it's quite interesting to think about that the people are not even... Yeah, well, of course we should be slaves to the government. Look at what they're benefiting us. They're giving us great things. Really. 20% of all taxes, at least in my home country in Norway at that time, literally disappear in terms of because they extracted from the people. Okay, so you understand that they extract 100% of taxes, right? 100% of taxes comes in. 20% of those 100% of taxes goes away to pay for taking that taxes in. Does that make sense? So which means that at the outset, the 100% of the taxes that they bring in from the people, 20% is gone. They've got 80% left to spend. Okay, and very often they spend it horribly. And very often not in the interest of the people. Although the people don't care, they don't think about it, and they don't investigate what the government spends money on. Their money, not the government's money. Government doesn't, they don't deserve anything, okay? Because their products and services are far inferior to any capitalist company out there who is trying to make the best possible product or service in order for them to survive. Okay, government is like, we don't have to survive. Let's figure out a program that works, and then let's just funnel tons of money on it and see if it works. And the problem is that these politicians are academics, man. They've never done any form of business. These guys have just been reading books, and then they've got some friends who are politicians, and then they gang up, and then they use all of the taxpayers' money to basically fund their election process so that they can become elected. And then they might get a position in parliament if they basically choose the right phrases and slogans and whatever false promises they give to their electors, the people who try to vote for them eventually. And then they might get a seat in the parliament or whatever it is that's happening in your country. And then they put out laws very often completely against the things that the people chose. Or the people want. Sometimes the people want what politicians want. And that's when we end up in a crazy situation as we are in today. But taxes is a horrible thing. Absolutely horrible. I'm not saying you shouldn't pay it. Right now, be a lawful citizen. Okay? Give unto Caesar what is given unto Caesar. I highly doubt that Jesus ever said that. But maybe he did. Okay? But in general. Okay? Just do that. Great. But understand that it's a false principle. And it should not be according to law to demand money from the people to fund services that they don't choose. In other words, it's theft. Taxation is and always will be theft if it is extracted from the people through force. Again, here comes the word, force. If the people, however, donate freely to the government, that's their choice. That's fantastic. And we need some form of government in order to have military, the judiciary system, and a police of some sort, right? That would help a lot. But that can come from donations. Maybe anonymous donations, who knows, okay? But in general, that's how it should be. And I want to include in this conversation now the silent tax that most people don't think about, which is inflation. If you're not on my Instagram, be on my Instagram, because almost every third post I put on that Instagram has to do with the silent tax, inflation. And how what's happening right now is the eroding of our current fiat currencies, and they're losing value fast. Have you noticed that? When you go into the shop or anywhere, you see prices going up and up and up and up compared to 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 6 months ago. Prices are going up. Okay, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Yeah, it's horrible. If your salary remains the same and prices are going up, you're losing purchasing power. And then you might be complaining that companies are putting up their prices and you'll go to their competitor, blah, blah, blah. Who is really increasing all these prices? It's government. How? Through the inflation tax. What is inflation tax? It's basically inflating the money supply and causing the money supply, that causes the value of the currency to go down compared to product and services, which is what we need fiat currencies for. So make sure you follow me on Instagram so that you understand a little bit more of this picture. I always relate back to Peter Schiff so that people can understand this, because he explains it very simply, very well. One thing you shouldn't listen to him on is Bitcoin, in my opinion, but everything else that he teaches is on point. It's amazing. Okay, so if we understand that those are the biggest problems that big government brings upon us, okay, we can also include, if we go back to the laws, in terms of the laws and regulations that the government sets up. I wrote a short list, but basically, welfare is a horrible system. Absolutely horrific. Why? Because it takes away personal responsibility to do good in society. Okay? It takes away your joy and happiness from actually serving other people. You're thinking, oh, well, I pay my taxes, so the government should be taking care of them. Horrible system to live by, because government very often doesn't take care of the poor. They might try, but they do a horrible job at it. It would be way better if everyone could retain all of their money, and then we'd actually have way more money to help the poor. Everyone would, almost, okay? And there would be some people who suffer, some people who are in difficult situations, some people who are sick, etc. They would receive help from their communities, because I believe that people are good, okay? In general, the vast majority of the population are good and honest people. That's why they pay taxes. Okay, but in general, welfare should never be the government's job. It's a very bad system. Very bad, horrible. The divorce courts. The government has become daddy and husband for women out there. It causes men to basically, consider not getting married at all. The divorce courts is the biggest reason why. Because it's too risky financially. You're building up something, you don't trust women, and you also don't trust government. That's a bad combination. How about never getting married? And guess what? I'm one of those guys that tell you to never ever get married. In today's world, the way situation is right now, don't get married. It's a horrible situation to put yourself in, from a success standpoint, from a happiness standpoint even. If you understand principles I teach on my channel when it comes to women. Women are amazing creatures, but to have one is a very horrible strategy. Women are not designed to be alone in a relationship with you, okay? That's a story for another day, but in general, the divorce courts is screwing men over like you can't believe. That's big government's fault. Another one is big tech cooperation. Okay, big pharma, big tech, okay, all these companies that are collaborating with the government, making sure that they're, that the government are putting in place laws that are difficult to obey for smaller and medium-sized companies, because of you have to have the lawyers to make sure everything's okay, and then there's so much regulations that causes the smaller companies to struggle to get, to be able to even compete with the massive monopolies that have happened as a result of big tech. Huge problem. Okay? This is why what's happening right now in society is even more dangerous. than ever because of the technology that's present. And they're collaborating with the big tech companies. Very dangerous situation we put ourselves in, voting for big government. And what is voting for big government? I'm just going to put this in here real quick. I'll explain it afterwards as well, but if in case I forget, I'll explain right now. Voting for left or right will never ever solve anything. You're building up big government if you vote for left or right. Both of them. And this doesn't matter which country you live in, because just like there's masculinity and femininity, there's left and right, okay? Now you think that the left and right would be collectivism and individual liberty, right? That those are the two opposites, because it's femininity is collectivism, masculinity is individual liberty. But guess what? Left and right are collectivism today. Why? Because the people have become weak. And when they're weak, they want something for nothing. And this is where I show you the picture that I brought out, which is pretty flippin' awesome. Always gotta do this. I'll show you guys here. This one. Hard times create strong men. Okay? This is when there's when government's not working very well, or there's an invasion of sorts, or whatever. Hard times have happened as a result of weak men creating hard times. Okay? The hard times create strong men create good times, meaning we have plentiful, everything's wonderful, everything's great, and now we basically are beginning to go into people's lives, right? Collectivism begins to happen as a natural result of good times. Because men don't really care anymore. They become weak. Good times create weak men. What happens when there's weak men? Well, basically, women run all over them, and when women run all over them, they begin to control politics. Feminine men, weak men, and women begin to control politics. And then there's weak men in society, and women, guess what they vote for? To get something for nothing. And they believe that my human right is to be taken care of by government. And as a natural result, we get the situation that we're in today, where they believe the government and whatever the government is doing, even though they're using force. Okay? How crazy is that? So, now you understand a little bit more about the things that government are doing. Did I write anything else? Needless wars. Corruption. Politicians getting paid. That's a principle that I think is absolutely atrocious. Why should politicians ever be paid? Okay, you should be doing that service voluntarily because you're a good person, because you desire to serve your community. You should never be paid as a politician. It's a horrible practice. Why would you reward someone financially to be in top positions in government? Stupid. Like literally, this is ridiculous. Okay, I would love to serve in government position. My wife says I'm not allowed to, okay? But I understand why, but I seriously would love to serve in a government position. You know how much I'd want to be paid for it? Zero. Nothing, okay? Nothing. I don't want anything because I love serving other people and I want to be of service. And I want to change the situation, you know? And I hope all of you guys want that as well. Okay, so what's the solution? I've spoken about the problem for a long time, but we know what the solution is, okay? That's what's so awesome about this. What is it? Well, guess what? There's the two problems, right? You got, they create tons of regulations and laws, okay? And then you have the other one, which is taxation of the people. Okay, those are the two problems. If those problems basically were taken away, the government wouldn't create a lot of problems anymore for anyone. Okay, in terms of creating laws and regulations, if we would want for big government to become limited government, okay, which one should we attack? Should we become lawless citizens? Is that the fastest way to bring down government? Well, at some point in time, they will force us to do that. Okay, there comes a time where you begin to enter my house. Okay, do you understand where I'm going with this? Yeah, exactly. Okay, you don't want to get to that point because civil wars happen as a result of that. If government encroaches on our freedom a bit too much, okay? Especially if we're strong men. And that's what we need more of. More strong, high testosterone filled men, okay? But I don't recommend that path of becoming lawless. It's too soon, okay, in my opinion. And hopefully we'll never have to become lawless, right? But they're causing a lot of problems in that division, but let's not tackle that one for now. Taxation. Am I implying you should not pay taxes? No, I think that's a horrible practice. Even now at this point in time, pay your taxes, okay? But understand that if everyone at the same time chose to not pay their taxes, government would be gone in a matter of months, maybe even a year, okay? If it takes that long. If they don't have any support of the people, government ceases to exist. The only problem we have is that government is supported by a lot of people. Okay, a lot of people believe that it's wonderful for government to be there and to tap into our freedom and to encroach on our freedom and steal our money. It's wonderful. And obviously they don't call it stealing money. They're basically calling it just taxes, and that's what you pay in order for you to live in a civilized society. Really? A civilized society? Well, eventually it won't be as civilized anymore, and the reason why? Because of big government. Now, is it big government's fault? No, obviously it's the fault of the people who are supporting big government. So, yeah, it's your fault, right? It's you and I, our fault for actually supporting government or not helping educating the people that we shouldn't support the government, at least not with our vote, okay? So you see these two aspects. The laws, you can't do anything about it. Taxes, can't do anything about it. Dang it, what are we gonna freaking do, right? What I recommend, you cannot vote for anything else than libertarianism. Classic neoliberalism. Okay? Now, if you don't understand what that is, look it up and begin to study it out. If you study that together with the proper role of government as explained in the beginning, you will have a proper understanding of what I believe to be true when it comes to politics. Well, it's kind of clear, don't you think? But in general, libertarianism is where we have to go in order for civilized society to remain a thing. What is libertarianism? It's basically that the government has no other responsibilities other than protecting the individual. The individual's freedom, their basic rights, okay? Not the rights of, oh, I'm going to provide for you and take care of you. No. Only the ones that come from foreign, okay, invasion or domestic invasion that is encroaching on your freedom, okay? In many ways, government should be protecting us against government, which they don't, unfortunately. But that would be great if they did. They would be doing their job. Just like the police officer who basically, like a couple of years ago, they said that it's important that police officers stand up against stuff that's, not right. And that guy was basically fired, okay? But anyway, I don't remember his name, so it's not important. But in general, can you be a man of high value and not vote for libertarianism? In my opinion, heck no. You cannot be a man of high value if you don't vote for liberty, for freedom, for individual rights. It basically means that you believe in force. And if you believe in force, in my book, you're not a high value man. So if you have other political beliefs, I highly suggest that you begin to study and research properly what it means to allow other people to have their freedom so you can have your freedom too. Or else you're a hypocrite. Simply put. But what's the solution? 1, vote for liberty. Vote for libertarianism. Wherever you are in the world, if there is no Liberty Party in your country, make one. Okay? That's how important it is. We need liberty in all countries, but we'll allow them to do it on their own terms. Eventually, everyone will come to a knowledge of the truth. And guess what? The knowledge of the truth is to allow other people their liberty so that you can have your liberty. That's a principle. And it's very few people who vote for that right now, and that's why we need more people to do so. This is a change that won't take effect for decades, okay? And in many ways, we won't solve this problem until we've done that. And that party is being kind of held back by the two other bigger parties, at least in America. There's no reason for that to happen if we actually vote for them and build them up. Are there things that libertarians disagree on? Of course, okay? Do they have female, are there problems in the libertarian parties? For sure. But we need numbers, okay? And we need that to grow as fast as possible so that philosophy enters into the mainstream, and eventually we'll have powerful leaders from a row of tons of people that will spring up and become the leaders of the Libertarian Party that are worthwhile and that can actually take it somewhere. That's number one. Number two, adopt Bitcoin as your reserve currency and preferably your main currency, okay? Now, this is not financial advice, but in general, this, by the way, that is actually a regulation from government as well. You're not allowed to give financial advice. Did you know that? Yeah, great. Okay, this is one of their silly regulations. But in general, understand that Bitcoin has the power to overthrow governments simply because it takes away their main power, which is their printing press. Okay? The fact that they have overview and capacity to change monetary policy here and there and take away your money and time through the inflation tax, having Bitcoin as the main currency of the world literally would change everything. It would change the whole entire game because governments would need to be honest from that moment on. Honest in terms of, because you can see all of the transactions on the blockchain. You can't steal Bitcoin. If people own their own Bitcoin and they have it in their own hot wallet, their own cold wallets, actually, that they own themselves, hardware wallets, okay? I just want to show one quote that I found on Twitter about this. I hope you guys appreciate this lengthy video, but I had a quote which is here. Okay, this is a guy, have no idea who this guy is, just an amazing quote from Twitter, Tim McElroy. I'm 5 months into my Bitcoin journey. Before that, I was already 100% pro-individual liberty. Thank you, Tim. You're a high-value man. Just because of that, you're massively on your way, okay? But was missing this one key principle. Separate the money and the state. The truth and necessity of this principle is hitting harder each day. 100%. Amazing. I love this quote, okay? Only in 2020 did I realize how crucial and vital Bitcoin is for freedom. Wow. Do you get what I'm talking about here? If you adopt Bitcoin as your legal tender, although the government might not use it, but you use it all of the time. What does it mean to use it? Just store it, man. Accumulate as much as you possibly can. You know, who knows if the price goes down or goes up tomorrow or today? I don't care. There's something called dollar cost averaging, DCA, which means that you put a little bit of money either every single day or every single week or month or whatever it is. Get yourself some Bitcoin, is my humble opinion. This is just educational, not financial advice, blah, 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 okay? I'm just helping you to see the big picture. Now, is it possible that Bitcoin is a scam and this is just a massive Ponzi scheme, just like the dollar is a massive Ponzi scheme, okay? Is it possible? The probabilities are higher than zero. Who knows what's going to happen tomorrow? You might lose all your money, but if it is real, if it is true, if it never ends up being hacked because it's such a powerful system that has been built by this anonymous Satoshi Nakamoto, if it actually fulfills its promise, it is one of the greatest inventions on planet Earth ever. More important than the wheel, more important than anything on planet Earth, will be the invention of Bitcoin. That sound money principle, oh my gosh, it is such a powerful one. I'm so grateful for whoever did that to humanity. If it is real, if it's legit, okay? If it is, and it's 99 point something %, it's legit, man. It's oh my gosh, it's amazing. Anyway, I could talk a long time about that, but in general, just want to share with you guys those two things that you can do right now, that we have to do, in my opinion, in order for us to take down big government and begin to make them limited government. There's nothing else we can do. Okay? Some people will say, oh, if you vote, then you're basically egging them on and you're basically supporting the system. No, you're not. I don't think so at all. How else are you going to do it? How else are you going to do it? Become lawless? No. The vote is crucial. Well, if everyone stops voting, then they might change their policies. No, they won't. You have to vote. It's crucial that you do. Okay? And the aspect of adopting something, it doesn't even have to be Bitcoin, but it has to be a currency that is not the national currency that the government uses. The important aspect is that we can trade with something else that doesn't give power to the government. The government has a printing press, they're inflating, and the money that they're printing is not even money. It's paper, man. And it's not even paper, it's a keystroke on a flipping computer. It's worthless. It's only worth because we trust government. Right? So the value of the dollar might continue a little bit more, but you see it evaporating all the time. And Bitcoin, the last 10 years, okay, 12 years that it's been in existence, guess what? It's increased in value by 200% every single year. Past performance is not prediction of future performance, but hey, why not? It at least keeps up with inflation if it continues to do so. Okay, having said that, do you know what the long picture is? And we'll never actually get out of this situation without understanding the female vote. And this will help put perspective on this. Women in general are different than men. They're not as rational, okay, in terms of emotions as men are. And I'm talking now about masculine men. I'm not talking about feminine men. Feminine men very often can be way more emotional than women. So we're not talking about them. They're on the wrong side, okay? But masculine men, a masculine man compared to a woman, the masculine man will always be way less emotional than a woman, okay? Less emotions, less thinking about the now, more overview over the big picture, okay? You agree? Okay, so the point is, do we want to take away women's vote? No. However, they do vote for collectivism 80% of the time, if not 95% of the time, which means that half of the population, very easily half of the population, are going to vote for force. Okay? No matter if they vote for left or right, they're voting for force. Are there very many women that are active in libertarian parties? No, not much. Why? Because of the now. Because of the need to force others. Why? Because of safety. Okay? Safety first is women's mantra. Security. Men, we're a bit different. We value our freedom more. Right? So we put freedom first so we can get safety. Women don't rationally understand, okay? The women who vote for force, obviously, they don't understand that if you seek safety first, from a social, the grand scale of things in the country, you get neither safety nor freedom. So your freedom is going to be stripped away from you, and you're never going to have safety either, because there's going to be problems from having big government as the master, okay? So, how do we fix that though? Because women got the vote approximately 100 years ago, and yeah, you see how the world is today. Is the world better than it was 100 years ago, 200 years ago? 100%, absolutely. But is it gonna get worse real quick? Yeah, actually, that's the way it looks like. And we don't want that, okay? Why is it happening? Big government. But the cause was actually the female vote, okay? If we'd continued, you know, with the male vote, maybe males would have continued in the correct direction, but maybe not. Maybe we needed the women to get their vote, and I'm glad that we did. But how do we solve that? Because I don't want to take the vote away from women. I think it's good that they have their vote, okay? But we got to understand the process. We got to understand why things are the way they are, and why collectivism and communism very quickly gets their, their shine, right? because people think it's a good principle. No one left behind. That's a feminine principle. Why? Because in the home, you can't allow kids to be left behind. It's the mother nurturing principle that women inherently have within them. So they vote for things that will make sure that no one is left behind. Although that takes away responsibility. The vast majority of people could actually take care of themselves if they took responsibility. But the less people take responsibility, the more the government power, the more government gets more power, and we end up in more and more problems. Everyone runs out of money. That's what happens eventually. And it's not they run out of money because of inflation. Inflation, no one's going to run out of money. It's going to be too much money, but that is going to cause there to be too less or too little purchasing power. Everyone runs out of purchasing power is really what I mean. What's the solution to that? Do you have the solution to the female vote? Do you have a solution to how half of the population, pretty much, actually, right now it's 95% of the population are voting for force, and they're voting for collectivism, and they're voting for big government. Do you have a solution to that? It's 3 in Love. If you've not been on my channel, you don't understand what I'm talking about. But 3 in Love is necessary. You understand that all of this that I'm talking about in this video today is like my life's quest. This is actually my life's quest is unburdening women and children, meaning creating an amazing men that can create families that can support women and children. But the only way to make that happen, to truly unburden women and children, we've got to make the load easier to carry for men. And the reason why the load is very difficult to bear is because of big government. So the only way that we can actually produce heaven on earth is literally to reduce big government's power over the people. So we literally have to do this. If you see the big picture here, one of my biggest goals is to reduce big government. It's not a secret. I'm a passionate libertarian and been so for many years, okay? And people think I'm radical and crazy and extreme, although I can see I know where we gotta go in order for everyone to be happy and to have joy, bliss, and happiness because they're educated on subjects. Anyone who study and research history and what's going on right now will agree with me that we must move towards freedom. We must move towards truth. Those that don't research, don't study, they're like, free stuff, cool. Whoever gets my vote is the one who gives me the most free stuff. Very bad voting strategy. What's the solution? 3 in Love. What's 3 in Love? 1 man, 3 women. Guess what? Could you guess what my wife votes for? Well, what do you think she votes for? She votes something different than me? No, okay? Is that because of force? No. I allow her freedom. She understands this. She's passionate about politics in the same way that I am, okay? Because we see the big picture. Guess how she's kind of understood this? From rational influence by me, which means that 1 masculine man who is a high value man, in other words, he votes libertarian and he has all the other principles as well, right? Guess what? Those 3 women, the female vote is crucial. That's what's going to be the game changer within the next 200 years. Hopefully way sooner than that. We're going to get the female vote voting for libertarianism, for freedom, to get rid of big government, to make it extremely small, and at some point in the future, maybe we won't even need government at all, because everyone is obeying the eternal, simple laws that have been put that are duplicatable. The simple laws of don't kill, don't steal, don't lie, don't do this, that, and the other, right? The crucial rules. No one would do that. Why would they do that? If they have abundance, if everyone is being respectful of each other's property, and if society is functioning, why on earth would we need government for? We wouldn't. That's the whole point. But that's in the future. For now, we got to get it smaller, and then eventually we can completely dismantle it, because why are you even governing us from afar? It doesn't make any sense. I'm happy. I don't need you to provide for me. I have abundance. My family's wonderful, and we're helping out poor and sick people all of the time. Why are you even there? There's no purpose for you. Get the heck out of my life. Do you get what I'm saying? It will be dismantled eventually once everyone obeys the law, the eternal laws. But until then, let's bring it down. And the only way to do that, the only way to bring the female vote, the majority of the female vote, the fastest way to do it is 3 in love. That's how important the 3 in love principle is. And this is a completely different angle for those of you guys who've heard of 3 in love in the past, of why this is crucial. Why 3 in love is not only a nice thing that you can have 3 women and it's going to be wonderful. No, it is immoral, okay? And I don't really like using the moral thing because people can use it in so many different ways, but it's the right thing to do, okay? That's what moral means in the first place. The right thing to do. It's actually, just like success is your duty and obligation, it's actually a duty and obligation once you understand all of these things that I teach on this channel and how to actually live a life in the manner of joy, bliss, and happiness. Once you understand it, it is your duty and obligation to take on the responsibility of 3 women so that you can actually help solve the biggest world problem on planet Earth today, which is big government. Don't do this on your own. Participate in the Men of High Value movement. Let's make a difference, okay? If you don't have purpose in your life, today I've given you purpose. Your job, number 1, is not to take care of government right now, but understand the big picture so that you get motivation to actually get your ass off the couch and actually make things happen in your life. Become an amazing man, okay? Like, begin to do what's necessary. Do the 80-hour work week. Live celibately for an extended period of time. Stay away from women. Don't even think about them. Get your foundation right. The financial foundation and just your mindset and your understanding of female nature in general. Really delve deep and become part of the Men of High Value movement. I'm going to end with actually a pretty cool website that I just discovered, right before this live stream. And it was from the heart, I found this image and I read this article real quick. And this is what this guy said. Okay. Well, it seems we tipped over into hard time section. This is really cool. I have no idea who this guy is. ImpossibleHQ.com. He says, a lot of people are going to have to get stronger and more resilient whether they want to or not. Here's how you do it. How to become stronger. Fix your mind. Read Impossible. I have no idea. It's obviously one of his books. Never read it. Can't endorse it. But it's probably amazing. But he does say, take action. Listen to these guys when you need to straighten your head. David Goggins, 100%. Jocko Willink. I haven't listened to David Goggins, but I know what he's about. Jocko Willink, I have listened to, a little bit. He's on point. Ownership. Okay, Tom Bilyeu actually spoke about it today. I put out a post on my Instagram about it. But they're all about personal responsibility, which I love. Joe DeCina, I have no idea who that is. Jordan B. Peterson, he should be on everyone's list. Haven't read his books, but man, he speaks a lot of truth. Okay, get it out of your head and into your body. Become disciplined. Focus and do the things you say you're going to do. Get out of your head and into your body. It's basically taking action, but it's a principle. We can talk about it another day. And then he talks about build your body. In my opinion, I think it's a waste of time. For now, it's going to be extremely crucial, but you want to have time as your advantage. Meaning, get tons of money, consistently built up over time, okay? Maybe you don't have a strong financial foundation. Now is not the right time to spend 2 hours at the gym. Get tons of money and then hire personal trainers that will help you get to where you want to be within months. Okay, that's kind of my priority. And then he says, create a mission. Create your impossible list. Well, the things that I've explained today definitely should be on the possible list. Find a mission that pushes you to your limit, then set yourself ablaze going after it. Just because times are good does not mean you have to become weak. Fight it, be better. And if just because times are bad doesn't mean you can't withstand them. Be stronger, be resilient, do something impossible. Okay, I love that. That's what we're all about with the Men of High Value channel. I hope you guys truly enjoyed this video. You know what I'm about. And let's see if there are any questions. And it's just one comment by Champion. And he says, it all starts with us, men leading. Thank you so much for watching, guys. You guys are awesome. I'll see you in the next one.